Welcome back to Deep Dive Classroom Deep Divers. Let's talk about a feeling I know so many of us share. You've got this itch to grow your own fresh organic food, right? But then you look around your place and think, man, I literally have zero space, or I definitely don't have the cash to build a massive garden right now. It can feel incredibly intimidating to get started.
Think you need a sprawling farm to make it happen? No way. By the end of today's explainer, you're going to understand exactly how to turn a tiny apartment balcony, a squeezed courtyard, or even just a free upcycled pallet into a highly productive food oasis. So pull up a chair, take some mental notes, and let's figure this out together. You absolutely have the power to do this.
And hey, there's a serious tangible payoff if you stick with it. I love this idea from one of our sources. In our 4th year, the food will finally be cheaper than the grocery store. Sure, there is a bit of a learning curve, and you might have to drop a few bucks on supplies up front. But if you use these smart gardening methods, eventually, the food you grow is literally putting money back into your pocket. You aren't just growing dinner, you're growing your own grocery savings.
Okay, here's our blueprint to get your garden planned and built today. We'll cover 1. Smart setup, 2. Soil secrets, 3. Planting strategy, and 4. Key takeaways.
Let's jump right into concept 1, smart setup. Where do we even begin? First things first, I want you to close your eyes for a second and mentally trace the path of the sun across your living space. Whether that's a backyard, a little side patio, or a balcony, where does the light actually hit and where do the shadows fall? You have to track this because of one magic number, 6 to 8. You're looking for a spot that gets 6 to 8 solid hours of direct sunlight every single day. This is an absolute deal breaker if you want to grow fruiting plants like tomatoes, peppers, or cucumbers. Now, if your space is mostly shaded, don't panic, you can still grow leafy greens like spinach. But for those big summer harvests, you've got to follow the sun.
Now, if that sunny spot happens to be on a balcony, we need to do a quick container check. First up, safety. Check your balcony's weight limits, because honestly, soil gets insanely heavy when it's soaked with water. Next, decide between self-watering containers or pots with drainage holes. If your balcony is uncovered and gets poured on by the rain, you absolutely need drainage holes so your plants don't drown. And finally, go for lightweight plastic over heavy clay or wood. You're going to be dragging these pots around to chase the sun or hide from crazy winds, so, save your back.
What if you have a little bit of yard space but absolutely zero budget? You can actually start for free by upcycling a wooden pallet into a raised bed. But step 1 is crucial. You must only use a pallet stamped with HT. That stands for heat treated. Never use one with an MB stamp because that means methyl bromide, which is highly toxic, definitely not for food. Step 2, just carefully pry off the boards or use a saw to cut them squarely to 43 inches. Step 3, screw your 9 best pieces into a little raised frame. Boom, a beautiful garden bed for literally $0.
Moving right along to concept 2, soil secrets. This is the foundation of your success.
Soil is the lifeblood of your garden, but it's also where beginners tend to waste a ton of cash. So here's a massive budget hack for you. If you build a really deep raised bed, say 30 inches tall, do not fill the whole thing from top to bottom with expensive potting soil. Actually, most vegetable roots will never even reach the bottom half of that box. Instead, just chuck free logs, sticks, and torn-up cardboard into the bottom half. It takes up empty space, saves you a fortune, and it'll slowly break down over the years to feed the earth below. It's a total win-win.
For the top half, though, where the roots actually live, you need the perfect soil. Think of this kind of like your plant's macronutrients. There's a famous recipe called Mel's Mix, and it relies on a perfect 1/3 ratio. You do 1/3 compost, which is the food or the fertility, 1/3 vermiculite or perlite, which acts like a drainage system so the roots can breathe, and 1/3 peat moss or coconut coir, which holds on to moisture like a giant sponge. Mix those 3 together, and your plants are going to absolutely thrive.
Oh, and a quick tip to keep your budget in check. When you head to the nursery for those soil ingredients, buy in bulk. Hauling those massive heavy bags instead of the tiny convenient ones can literally slash your soil costs by 25%. Yeah, it's a little more work to carry them home, but keeping that extra 25% in your wallet, totally worth it.
All right, concept 3, planting strategy. Let's maximize that harvest.
So the boxes are built and the soil is mixed. Now, how do we squeeze the maximum amount of food out of our tiny space? First, you have to decide what goes into the dirt. Seeds versus seedlings. This is the ultimate gardening trade-off. Planting seeds saves you money and gives you this huge variety of fun crops to choose from. But
It takes patience and a bit of skill. Buying seedlings, those little baby plants already sprouted at the nursery, well, they cost more cash, but they save you weeks of waiting and help you skip over common beginner mistakes. So if you want a quick, guaranteed win to get started, just buy the seedlings.
Now, here is the secret weapon for small spaces: square foot gardening. Invented by a civil engineer named Mel Bartholomew, this method just completely takes the guesswork out of planting. Instead of doing confusing math to figure out how far apart to plant long rows of seeds, you literally just divide your raised bed into a visible grid of 1-foot squares. Then, you plant a specific number of plants right inside each individual square. Deep divers, here is your absolute cheat sheet for that grid spacing. For big, hungry plants like tomatoes, peppers, or cabbage, you only put one of them in a single square foot. Leafy greens like lettuce, you can comfortably fit 4 per square foot. Spinach, 9 per square. And for the really small root veggies like radishes or bunching onions, you can pack an amazing 16 plants into just 1 square foot. It's incredibly efficient, and visually it's so easy to follow.
But there's a crucial point when you're laying out that grid. You have to treat it like real estate zoning. You must put your tall climbing vines, like peas or melons that grow up a trellis, on the north side of your box. Why? Well, if you put a tall trellis on the south edge where the sun hits, it's going to act like a wall, casting a giant shadow over your entire garden and completely stunting your shorter crops. So remember, tall stuff always goes in the back.
And to keep your tiny space pumping out food all summer long, you use something called succession planting. Basically, the minute you pull a mature radish or cut a head of lettuce out of your grid, that square foot is empty. Do not let it sit there bare. Have a new seed or a fresh seedling ready on standby and plant it immediately in that exact same square. You just keep that cycle rolling so you always have something fresh on the table.
All right, let's hit our takeaways before class is dismissed.
We have built an incredible foundation today. Here is your deep dive recap. First, map your space to find that magic 6 to 8 hours of direct light. Second, build smart. Use upcycled heat-treated pallets and fill the bottom of deep beds with logs to save your cash. Third, mix up that perfect 1/3 ratio soil so your roots thrive. And finally, maximize every inch of your space with the square foot grid. You know, we do all this because there's absolutely nothing like the incredible feeling of eating a fresh meal grown just inches from your door by your own 2 hands.
So I want to leave you with one final question to get you started. What will you plant in your first square foot? I challenge you to put this into practice today. Drop down into the comments and tell me your first crop choice. Are you going for the single tomato, or are you packing in 16 radishes? Let me know. If this explainer got you fired up and closer to your garden goals, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dive classroom sessions. You can check out the affiliate links below to get started and visit our Fourth Wall merchandise shop to grab some gear. Class dismissed, deep divers. Now get out there and get your hands dirty.